This Sunday is the Super Bowl. I say we just hop straight into this little breakdown of the matchup. I know that this isn't the matchup that a lot of people wanted to see, but it's the one we're getting, and there is still a lot of interesting nuances here to talk about, so let's hop into it. The main event of this matchup to me is Reid versus Fangio. Just a heads up, I kind of forgot about the Dolphins playoff game last year, so when I say 7, I actually mean 8. All the graphics on screen will be accurate though. Obviously, Vic Fangio was the head coach of the Denver Broncos for a couple seasons, so there are a lot of matchups to look at here scheme-wise to kind of see how things were handled. I went ahead and pulled up all of Patrick Mahomes' games against Vic Fangio. Now, there is one in here where Mahomes did get injured and did not play the rest of the game, so that's kind of factoring things a little bit. But even so, in the 7 games the Chiefs have played against Vic Fangio, they are 7-0. However, one thing that's really interesting to me is that Mahomes has a really high completion percentage against Fangio, but not that many yards per attempt and not very many touchdowns. Only 9 touchdowns in 7 games. 6.5, really. What that tells me, and what anyone would tell you, is that the best way to compete against Vic Fangio's defense is dink and dunk. Take the short game, take what they give you, and just kind of nickel and dime them down the field and kick a lot of field goals, because you're not going to get a ton of touchdowns. And you have to be comfortable with that when you play against Vic Fangio. Mahomes has gotten incredibly good at just simply taking what the defense gives him, especially over the last couple of years. So I expect that that will stay the same. I went ahead and looked at the run game for all of these games as well, and they were pretty similar to what we see this season from the Chiefs. You know, that's solid, about 4 yards per carry, not a ton of touchdowns, but able to just get you a couple yards on first down so that you can get a couple more on second down and then convert on those third and shorts, which has been the whole recipe for success all season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Arguably the most important player in this matchup, because I mentioned you're going to have to take a lot of field goals, is Harrison Butker. In his career against Vic Fangio, Harrison Butker is 19 for 19 on field goal attempts. That is 57 points in 7 games. And he's 14 for 16 on extra points as well. So in total, he has contributed 71 points in 7 games. Compare that to the 54 points contributed by Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the Chiefs are going to be able to put up somewhere in that 21 to 27 region points-wise, whether that be from kicking 3 field goals and 2 touchdowns, or however they get there. That's where I expect them to score. So then the onus falls on the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore. Can they successfully put up that 27 to 30 points that they would need to win the game? And that's where it becomes a little bit more of a guessing game. Obviously, looking at the Eagles this year, they've been able to put up right about that 27 points per game. But I want to look more so specifically at the matchup rather than just the overarching season. The unfortunate thing when it comes to Kellen Moore, I can't just pin Kellen Moore versus Spags the way I can Reid versus Fangio. Kellen Moore's only coached against Spags 3 times. One of those games was against backups in a Week 18 game, and the other 2, you could say that there was some poor quarterback play that maybe held them back. With the Dallas Cowboys, he only put up 9 points. With the Chargers, he only put up 17 points. However, both those quarterbacks threw 2 interceptions each in that game, so that obviously negatively impacted their ability to go down the field and put up points. Now, as far as Jalen Hurts himself, Jalen Hurts is actually probably one of the better quarterbacks statistically against Spags. He's only played him 3 times, so smaller sample size than what we have with Mahomes versus Fangio. However, those 3 games are all pretty impressive. He put up a total of 8 touchdowns, so nearly 3 touchdowns per game. He averaged nearly 330 yards per game and only turned over the ball twice. Now, he did fumble the ball once in each of the 3 games, which does put a little bit of worry that maybe he could very well be putting over 2 turnovers a game instead of 0.6. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out for. Ball security is going to be key. We saw that the difference in the Super Bowl last time was that 1 fumble turned over. But the biggest piece to the Eagles' success comes down to Saquon, and that's one of the things where it's the hardest to gauge. On one hand, the Chiefs' run defense was really good in the first half of the season, but post-bye week, it really wasn't so good. They were allowing nearly 150 rush yards per game, and none of those running backs were Saquon Barkley. However, Spags has shown the ability to sell out and make a team scared to run against you. Look at the AFC Championship last year against the Ravens. Spags was selling out to stop the run, just absolutely filling the box on first down. And that made the Ravens too scared to challenge, and they fell back into throwing. You throw an incompletion or a short gain, and you're looking at second and long, and the panic starts to set in. That could be the game plan here against the Eagles. I think the Eagles are a lot more prepared to challenge those stacked boxes, though, both in the run blocking and in just Saquon's natural ability. But it's tough to exactly predict just how good this run defense is going to be Super Bowl time with the prep time that they're having. On one hand, I could believe that they went out there and the trend stayed the same and the Eagles rushed for 200 yards against the Chiefs. On the other hand, I could see a world where they completely rebounded and they held Saquon to just 80 rushing yards on 20 carries. It's just tough to predict. I do want to highlight a few key players that I think are going to be integral for both teams to come away with a victory. For the Chiefs, I already highlighted Harrison Butker. I think they're going to ask him to kick at least 3 times in this game. A miss could be the difference. So he's going to have to come through. He was a little shoddy after the knee surgery that he had, and he's looked a lot better as the postseason has gone on. But he definitely needs to have his best game, I think, in the Super Bowl. On the defensive side, the 2 names that jump out to me are Leo Chenal and Tershawn Wharton. Tershawn Wharton has gone kind of unsung, but he's actually got an even higher pass rush win rate than George Karlaftis. He's the second best true pass rusher on that defensive line besides Chris Jones. And Chris Jones is going to garner a lot of double teams, so Wharton has to be the guy to win his one-on-ones and go get pressure on Hurts, make him panic, make him throw the ball away, and get those negative plays, alongside being consistent in the run game between him and Pennell. And Leo Chenal, I think Leo Chenal is their best true linebacker, and especially in the run game, he is far and away the best one. He only has 1 missed tackle on the season. He gets the most tackles per snap compared to the rest of the defense. He's a firecracker in the run game, and he's going to be integral to keeping Saquon from just breaking one. And he's going to be the one to make the Eagles try to convert on these long downs, which is going to be really important. On the offensive side, Xavier Worthy, I think, is just going to have a big game. He's the fastest guy they got. Ever since they've gotten Hollywood Brown back, they've been able to put him in the slot more. I already highlighted just how much his production has grown because of Hollywood Brown being back. This is the game where that is going to be the most important, because you know that these guys are going to play off. They're going to create their umbrellas. They're not going to allow the deep balls. You need to put the ball in the hands of the fastest player who can go out there, make a guy miss, get an extra 3, 4, 5 yards, and just keep this ball moving down the field, get you into the red zone, and get your chip shot field goal. Or if he can break one and score a touchdown, that's going to be huge for them. On the Eagles side of the ball, I think it really comes down to this defense just getting stops and making plays. The most important overall player to me is going to be Cooper DeJean. He's going to be in the slot. He's going to be asked to stifle the run, which the Chiefs have been good at just getting 4. Just get 4. They don't get very many negative plays on the rundowns. You need to force those negative plays. You need to force a tackle for loss on a first down run, because otherwise they're just going to chip away all the way down the field and put up points every single drive. And when you do drop back into pass coverage, Cooper DeJean has to be the one to contain guys like Xavier Worthy that are going to be getting these short passes and told to run upfield and try to get as much as they can. DeJean has to be the flyer who comes down, wraps up, brings them down, and doesn't let them get a large amount of yards after the catch. The other 2 integral pieces to that, to me, are Milton Williams and Nolan Smith. Jalen Carter is going to garner the double teams, so it's on Milton Williams versus Trey Smith or whoever is across from him, if it's Joe Tooney or if it's Caliendo. He needs to go and win his one-on-ones and get pressure on those long downs, force Mahomes to scramble, to run, or if he gets in quick enough, just getting the sack there. And if Mahomes runs, then the next most important player is going to be Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is one of the only defensive linemen in this league that's fast enough to just go chase down Mahomes and actually make him panic. Nolan Smith is arguably maybe the fastest defensive lineman in the whole league. If I'm Fangio, this is my QB spy contain man every 3rd and long. Nolan Smith needs to be prepared to just go get Mahomes, wrap him up, and keep him from doing what he normally does on these 3rd and long scrambles, especially in the playoffs. On the offensive side of the ball, obviously, Hurts, Saquon, Brown, Smith, they all need to have the big games that we know that they're capable of. But I really look at this tight end duo. The Chiefs have really struggled stopping tight ends. Their linebackers just aren't very good in coverage, and they have to keep the safeties deep to contain Brown and Smith, because otherwise those guys are going to go win. So that's going to leave one-on-ones in the intermediary part of the field for Goddard and Calcaterra. And I think both those guys need to have big games, and if they can have good games, that's going to open up everyone else to have big games. That's going to make everyone sit back a little farther and let you run with Saquon. That's going to force the safety to creep down and allow A.J. Brown to win over the top. So those are my 4 key players for each team. As for what I think is going to happen, I'd be crazy to bet against the Chiefs at this point, and I've thought it was crazy to bet against the Chiefs going into the playoffs. The Eagles are probably the most talented team in the league from both a player personnel standpoint and also a coordinator standpoint, but in the end, I just don't think that they'll be able to stifle them. And if it comes down to a field goal to win, touchdown to win, it's 21-20 and there's 2 minutes left, I just don't. Andy Reid's going to have the best plays he's cooked up all season waiting for him, and they're going to march down the field and score. My score prediction is 27-21 Kansas City. We'll see if the three-peat comes to fruition this Sunday. Hope you guys enjoy the game if you decide to watch. Hope you guys enjoy the halftime show. I'm excited for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Try to enjoy some football, because this is it. This is all that's left for us. All we've got to look forward to now is the draft, which is arguably, at least for me, it's my favorite time of the year for football, because everyone has that a little bit of hope. Have a good one, guys. See you later. Peace.